to help each other in the case of a crisis. So again, I mean, we need to, it's an opportunity to learn what happened. We need to learn. And so I hope I will, in a few weeks, I mean, all the events, I mean, the sequence of events of what happened in Japan will come to light. And it's not here to critique what happened. I mean, I think we shouldn't look at, I mean, again, I think the Japanese government and the TEPCO has done everything in their power, but we need to learn on how to best address such a situation in the future. So I wish we can really look at the facts and trying to put together a system or to make sure that if it happens again, we are much more efficient. That's what I'm looking for. Yes. Yes.
What opportunities are there for AREVA, given what you mentioned about the cost of your latest generation of reactors, but also in context of Fukushima, what opportunities, what challenges do you see for that?
I'm very, actually, I mean, as I told you, before Fukushima, we were heavily criticized because our reactors were too safe, so too expensive. Because again, I mean, we always believe that safety is the most important priority, you know, when you build a nuclear power plant. I see a bright future, actually. I know it sounds a little bit counterintuitive, but for our series of reactors, I mean, they are built like bunkers. We know how to build them now, on time, on budget. I mean, everything that can happen outside will never get inside. I mean, you can really hit an EPR by anything you want, a 747 or anything. Nothing will go inside. It's a double envelope. Anything that could happen inside will never go outside. So I'm very, very hopeful that actually we'll be able to, you will see more and more reactors like the EPR. We're not the only one, but we're almost the only one in that category of being very safe. Being in demand around the world. And you can see, I mean, UK we are going to build. We are building in Eastern Europe. There will be a new bid in Finland. I saw that Finland wants to have now another reactor. So I see a pretty bright future. I mean, it will be a slowdown in the beginning because people are going to make sure that they understand exactly what happened over there. But when everything is said and done, they will see that the type of reactor we propose is a good answer.
Gentleman right here.
Rodrigo Valderrama, independent writer. What do you see the total cost of the cleanup in Fukushima? You must be forecasting something. And also these recycling centers, do you see them as possible profit centers in the future? Okay.
Okay.
And how that'll affect your bottom line?
Okay. The potential cleanup of Fukushima, honestly, I don't have personally the number, and I don't think anybody will give any number at this stage. Again, in order to be able to assess the real number of the cleanup, we need to understand exactly what happened, how much contamination is all around. So it would be foolish to give you a number right now, but we get to the number. And also today I'm certain, because I know my Japanese friend, that the cleanup will happen. So it will happen. I mean, the area will be cleaned up. Now about, what was the next question? About our profit center? Yeah, I mean, recycling, again, I invite you to come and visit my plants. So my plants, I mean, the plants I used to run. Now not my plants, but I had the honor to run them in France. You will see that it's been a very profitable operation for the last 20 years. There is a very good way to not only to recycle, but also to make a profit out of recycling. And I won't give you publicly any range, so. But I invite you to come and ask any questions you want. I mean, really, I'm invited. I mean, it's in Normandy. It's at the tip of you go west from Paris before you hit the sea. I mean, you hit the plant, and you can see.
Yeah, I'd just like to ask a quick question.
Sure.
Understanding that we're still early on in the understanding of what happened at Fukushima, There's obviously been a lot of talk about lessons for the industry from this accident, and of course NRC is looking at that. What do you think the lessons that can be taken from this accident right now for industry, and what do you think the appropriate response for the NRC would be? And as specifically as possible, there's discussion about station blackout, that the reactors there were flawed in design, emergency planning. So what are the real legitimate safety issues out of
I'm
that?
I'm not going to give you all the list because it's for me because again I don't know everything what happened, and also it's not for me to say, but it's for the NRC to come forward, and they're doing a very good job in looking. They have a 90-day review actually, and they will come with their conclusions. But I give you a couple actually. We need to look at the station's blackout. I mean, how a reactor can sustain actually a very long loss of power. You have a different way to do that actually. You can have protected a diesel generator, I mean bunkers. Like what we propose in the EPR is that we have diesel generators in bunkers. So even if there is a flood, nothing can happen. You can also have the possibility of flying actually by helicopter a generating system that you plug on the top of a reactor. It's just an idea. Okay, so these have been discussed. That's what I want to say is all of this has been already discussed when there was a review after 9/11. It's what people forget. Or it's forgotten, and it was discussed specifically in the U.S. because the U.S. was really emotionally, touched by 9/11. Another items that we can talk about, which is a very simple and cheap item to add to every reactors, it's what we call an hydrogen recombinant. That means that it's like a filter that filters hydrogen and make water out of it. It's a very cheap device, relatively cheap, a few millions. And it avoids actually what you saw, we will avoid actually, and what you saw unfortunately in Fukushima, which was the hydrogen explosion. But all of this you see, it's really like, that's why I take the analogy of a plane crash. I was amazed at the expense we had. You remember, if you watch the Air France crash from Brazil to France, and it crashed in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. And I think the international community is spending millions to retrieve what they call the black boxes. And the reason is very simple. If people want to understand what happened, so it doesn't happen again. And so they can understand, is it a fault really of the airplane? Is it a problem with the pilots? So all of this is going to be studied. And I think we should do the same, and we're going to do the same with Fukushima. We need to understand what is at fault because of the technology, what is at fault because some systems were missing, what is at fault because of the design was not taking into account the fact that it could have a large tsunami wave. Are some human errors were made? It's not to blame, it's just to understand. Yes.
Hi, Lynn Garner with DNA. Do you see any future for small modular reactors? There's a lot of talk about maybe we could have these smaller plants strategically located, and is that really practical? What is your opinion?
AREVA, we are less bullish on this than others. I think it's a great idea, first of all, and we are always open to new ideas. And if we can build small modular reactors as we build airplanes, for example, in series, so we can get the cost down, I think it will be very efficient. But we need to look at the economy. This is what I'm looking at. So we are looking at that, but we need to make sure that it's economical. It's okay that the financing at the beginning is lower, of course. It's always lower to finance 100 megawatt than to finance 1600 megawatt. But the issue is to look at now the cost per kilowatt or the cost per megawatt hour. And where I'm concerned, but we're going to look at it because we are I'm always trying to find the new ideas and so on. Also, I'm concerned about the cost of licensing. You need to know that we are licensing our reactor here. It's a 1600 megawatt reactors. The cost of it right now it's about $300 million. it doesn't depend on the, I mean, the size of the reactor has nothing to do with the cost. A licensing process, So that's what people need to look at. I mean, can we incorporate the cost of licensing and so on and so forth and make, at the end of the day, an economical reactor?
Over here.
Yep.
Thank you. Steve Dolly with Platts again. You said you're in discussion with some communities and there may even be competition for the recycling center. But if there is a large portion of U.S. Spent fuel or U.S. used fuel reprocessed, there will be a large amount of plutonium and uranium to be reused. And fast reactors are still some ways down the line, at least, you know, I think it's fair to say 15 to 20 years on a commercial scale. So this fuel would need to be used in the current U.S. light water fleet as so-called MOX fuel, which is more, it has been said by some anyway, to be more expensive to make than regular uranium fuel. Would that require a large federal subsidy program similar to what's being done for the MOX fuel that DOE is making from U.S. surplus weapons plutonium? And if in this age with Congress being very strict on such things, how would that work?
Thank you for your question. It's a very good question, actually. Yeah, I forgot to mention, when we did the study, and the study is online, it's the Boston Consulting Group study, we looked not only at the recycling, but also we looked at the MOX. So the idea was to build a recycling center. I think it was, at that time, it was 2,000 tons of input, and it was spent fuel or used fuel in and MOX out, at 200 tons out. And all of this will be financed by, I said, the mill per kilowatt hour. So there is no additional subsidy. I mean, we can make the MOX, I mean, if it will be an integrated, actually, what happened in France that we have two plants. One plant, it's in La Hague, separates uranium and plutonium, and another plant, actually, in the south of France, reassemble uranium and plutonium. Here also, we are learning from our, I won't say mistakes, but I would say experience. The plant that we envision for the US is a total integrated plant, much more efficient. And we don't actually even separate uranium and plutonium in a liquid phase, which is better for non-proliferation issues. And we looked at that, and and 200 tons per year can be easily consumed by the current nuclear fleet here.
So the cost differential between MOX and low enriched
No,
uranium-
there will be none. Actually, it will be cheaper. We make it cheaper because we want people to be on peace.
Well, because it's financed by the waste fund.
Yeah, but
It's cheaper.
yeah, but the waste fund. I mean, right now, I mean, the waste fund is here to manage spent fuel or used fuel. Right now, it's used to do something else. But we need to manage used fuel. It's a moral. It's even a moral obligation for our children. Right now, what we do in the U.S. Is almost immoral. We use electricity. Actually, 20% of, I mean, two lamps out of 10 here are made of nuclear energy, more or less. So we have the benefits of nuclear energy, and we leave actually the liabilities to our kids. And this is, for me, I mean, we need to have a solution. We need to move forward. We need to make sure that the waste form, actually, the final waste form is well defined. I don't know if you know that, but when you recycle fuel, I mean, you still have final waste, but they are actually, it's like a block of, it's called glass, vitrified, but I would say it's like a lava block. It's like petrified waste. And this really so here you make sure that the waste will stay inside a lava block for the next 1 million years. And that's what we need to do. And actually, Japan has done it. Everybody does it, actually. When you have a long, when you have a very large nuclear program, I mean, every nation does it. And Japan is doing it. China is going to do it. Russia is doing it. UK is doing it. Of course, I mean, Germany is not going to do it. They're going to phase out nuclear.
Wallace, another question?
Yes, sorry. Oh.
You mentioned your new reactor project in Maryland, and facing a few hurdles on that. Constellation pulled out, and it looks like you need a U.S. partner to get the thing done. And yet there's a perception among U.S. utilities especially with the shale gas phenomenon that you mentioned, that nuclear is it's just too expensive. Why not go build a cheap gas plant? We've got plenty of gas. There's a lot of utility executives very comfortable with the supply of gas. There's nothing on the horizon for carbon regulation. It would look like you might have a tough time finding a U.S. partner willing to take on the nuclear risk at Maryland.
Okay, so now, first of all, it's not me. I mean, it's our customer EDF. Is the operator is looking for a partner, for a U.S. partner. I beg to disagree here. Again, when you look at any kind of large power plant projects, you don't want to look at the next 5 years. You want to look at the next 30, in case of nuclear, the next 60 years. And I bet anything you want today that the price of gas is not going to stay as low as it is today for the next 10 to 15 years. And actually, I mean, it's déjà vu, as we say in good English, all over again. I don't know if you remember that there was a bubble, kind of bubble of gas, if I may say, it was in the 2000, it was 10 years ago. A lot of course, utilities built a lot of gas-powered, power plants. And guess what? Some of them went bankrupt. Because the issue with a gas power plant is very simple. Is that when you produce 1 kilowatt hour with a gas power plant, 70% of the cost is the cost of the fuel. 70. So you're super dependent on the price of the cost of the... And so I bet anything you want that you cannot assure me that even in the US,